Hello everyone, Crossflux here with a different kind of video. I've enjoyed the Smash Bros. Series ever since the 64 version, but I never truly got into it until Brawl. Perhaps I'm greedy, but I just feel that there's never been enough characters in the Smash games. I still have a visceral reaction to the concept of DLC in games, but I know it can be handled well. The Smash Bros. DLC, for instance, has a chance to be good. With that being said, I would like to propose a character who could feasibly make it into Smash Ultimate. After all, Nintendo did say they wanted the DLC this time around to be more surprising. What could be more surprising than an indie game character becoming playable alongside iconic traditionals like Mario and Link? Let's explore what it could look like for the Knight from Hollow Knight to be a playable fighter. I've never done a video like this before, so I'll just do it the best way I can imagine. I'll go over what each of the Knight's moves might look like, as well as a few other neat touches that I'd like to see be put into the game. So without further ado, before we go any further, let's discuss the character of the Knight himself. He is a vessel, an artificial construct built to hold the radiance within its body. It is nimble, yet powerful. It wields a nail, a type of sword, and also makes use of spells. It can augment its abilities further through the use of charms, but I'll be disregarding them for the most part, since they mostly revolve around his already established abilities anyways. How would this look when translated into Smash? Well, the Knight is pretty small, so I'd imagine he'd be pretty light. This can be backed up in-game, since even the force of his own sword swings is enough to knock him back a short ways. In exchange, he'd deliver quick attacks and be able to rack up good combos. What's also neat is that as time has gone on, Smash characters have become a little more unique. Certain characters now make use of neat mechanics, like Robin's weapons having durability, Bayonetta making use of Witch Time, and Ryu retaining some characteristics from traditional fighting games. Still, other characters have a resource that they can build up over time. Little Mac's KO Punch and the Inkling's Ink Tanks are great examples of this. I bring this up to say that the Knight would have a resource of his own to manage. This is going to be Soul. You'd have a meter that can hold a maximum of maybe 3 units. Certain attacks would consume this Soul to become more powerful versions. You'd build up more Soul by landing attacks with your nail. Every few hits or so, you generate 1 unit. Whenever you use an attack that is applicable, it'll automatically consume Soul and become the more powerful version. So only if you're out of Soul will it be the quote-unquote regular, weaker version. I'll explain this aspect of the Knight's fighting style a little bit more once I go over the applicable moves. Let's get some of the basic stats out of the way first. As I mentioned before, I wanted the Knight to remain pretty light, but not so weightless that he'd fly off the stage if someone breathed on him. The Knight is pretty nimble and quick on his feet, as a good swordsman should be, but he can't quite compete to characters like Sonic, Sheik, or Fox. And although the Knight's walk speed is pretty quick, his dash isn't that much faster than his normal walk, and I'm using the dash speed from his Sprint Master charm as a reference. Since the Knight is pretty agile and quick in the air, I wanted him to be one of the fastest characters in this department. To augment the Knight's air game even further, he'll have a fairly quick fall speed. This is so he can get back to the ground and continue his combos. The Knight will have the traditional amount of 2 jumps. His second jump, of course, will need to have the animation of his Monarch wings. Thanks to his Mantis Claw, he'll be able to wall jump, and thanks to the Crystal Heart, he'll be able to wall cling. Now, it's time to go over each move. I'll try to be as organized as possible. Real quick though, the knockback potential of each move will range from very low to medium to high to very high. So let's start with the most basic of attacks and work our way up. This is going to be a standard 3-hit combo. I've based the damage and knockback off of Meta Knight's 3-hit forward tilt. It's a simple upward sword slash that has slight horizontal coverage, but mostly vertical. For his forward tilt, the knight will project a short-range sword beam slash thing. It'll have the range of Simon's Whip, and it'll deal less damage than the actual blade itself. So I've based the damage on Wolf's Blaster. And the move, of course, is inspired by the Grubberfly's Elegy charm. The knight will poke straight ahead with the tip of his nail, in a similar fashion to Meta Knight. This move will actually be one of the knight's slower moves, which isn't saying much since most of his attacks are very quick and precise. It's based off his dash slash technique, an advanced nail art he learns during his journey. In Hollow Knight, the knight isn't able to be knocked down or anything like that, but he is able to respond when he suffers damage. With the Thorns of Agony charm equipped, tendrils of spiny vines protrude from his body when he suffers damage. This would make for a cool attack to use when standing back up after having taken damage. This move may be a bit of a stretch because the knight never uses his Mantis Claw power-up to attack in his own game, but hear me out. I don't see any reason why it couldn't be used to attack. The other Mantids in the Mantis Village are quite proficient with this weapon. Since he's already gripped to an edge, let's have the knight lash out with his claw and then return to the stage. Throughout his journey, the knight picks up a technique that's perfect for his side smash. A charged up sword slash, the Great Slash. This is going to be a pretty slow yet powerful attack. I've used K. Rool's side smash to model the damage and knockback. Here's where we start to see the soul mechanic take root. The knight's up smash will be one of his spell attacks, either the Howling Wraiths or the Abyss Shriek, depending on whether or not soul is being consumed. I base the damage and knockback of this attack on Lucas's up smash, since they're similar in shape and function. Just like with the up smash, the knight is going to use another spell for his down smash. Descending Dark or Desolate Dive, depending on whether or not soul is consumed. He'll make a short hop into the air and come crashing down, dealing damage and knockback equally on both sides of him. Most characters have a spammable projectile as their neutral B. I'm looking at you, Star Fox crew. The knight is not going to be an exception in this department. The first spell that he learns on his excursion through Hallownest is Vengeful Spirit. In terms of smash, this projectile will be a fairly fast-traveling, energy-based one, with a slight delay between uses. I'd like for it to retain its property of halting your fall when used in the air. The last note on this attack is that it will also be augmented by soul. When doing so, it turns into Shade Soul, making the projectile a bit more powerful and slightly larger in size. Like with many swordsman characters in Smash Bros., the knight's up B will be a spin attack that lifts him slightly into the air. The Cyclone Slash from his original game doesn't lift the knight that high, but when translated into Smash, I think this height would need to be buffed just a little bit to make it viable. Like with Link's spin attack, it's going to be a chargeable move that has both a grounded and an aerial version. This aerial version will consist of 4 attacks, 3 weaker, and 1 final stronger hit. One of the more fun moves to use in Hollow Knight, in my opinion, is the Crystal Dash. After a brief charge, the knight rockets off at tremendous speeds. This will be his side special, and it will function like Pikachu's Skull Bash or Ike's side B. It'll probably be too slow to be used effectively in combat, but it would serve as a good horizontal recovery. Like with the knight's up special, his down special will have 2 different versions, based on whether or not you're in the air. When grounded, the knight will focus, channeling soul into his shell, restoring his health. Mechanically, this means the knight will remain stationary for about 2 seconds or so, and then at the end, heal 10% damage, all at the cost of 1 unit of soul. To make the knight a little more mobile, his down special when used in the air will quickly bring him back to the ground. This will be a slightly different take on his Desolate Dive move from before. It'll function like Bowser's down B and consist of two parts. The one where the knight actually collides with his foe, and the shockwave for when he actually touches down. Moving on to the aerial attacks. This move is going to be based on Toon Link Snare. The knight will slash twice in quick succession, once in the front and once in the back. The front attack will be the more powerful of the two. This is basically going to be a repeat of his up tilts, except in the air. It's a great move for juggling opponents. The knight is going to have another move inspired by Toon Link. His forward air will be a slightly slower, yet more powerful nail slash. This is similar to the fair, but it's slightly weaker and a faster version, with slightly less range. My personal favorite thing to do in Hollow Knight is to continuously bounce on enemies and hazards by using your nail kinda like a pogo stick. This technique is adapted into his dare. The knight will bounce up a bit after landing a hit, like with Young Link's or Greninja's dares. Now, if you couldn't tell, the knight has very short stubby arms. As a result, his grab reach is incredibly short, just like Pikachu. You won't be grabbing too often though as the knight, since his grabs are pretty weak. This is because he never does anything like this in his own game, so I'm not sure how good he is at the whole wrestling, grabbing kind of thing. Anyways, the damage from his throws and pummel are going to be based on Ike, since he also has a weak grab. Each of the throws are pretty bland, just a simple throw or a slam into the ground. The most useful of the grabs would probably be his up or down, because they'd set the opponent up for juggling opportunities in the air. Now, we finally come to the final smash. The knight begins to overflow with void tendrils, and all enemies in the immediate area around him are caught up in the smash attack. The knight then transforms into the god of void, and begins raking the enemies caught by it over and over again before one final slam. Although these aren't really attacks, taunts are still things that you're able to do in battle, so let's talk about them real quick. In Hollow Knight, the knight is able to fast travel to a pre-established location. When he does this, he sorta hovers in the air for a brief moment, and I think this would be a neat little taunt. Up next will be his down taunt. Here the knight will draw his nail, like when he challenges a boss. See the Mantis Lords, or Grimm, or the Radiants. Now, for those of you who have played Hollow Knight, I'm sure you're thinking about something in the knight's arsenal that has been overlooked so far. Very perceptive of you. Let's go ahead and talk about the Dream Nail. The knight obtains this weapon during his journey, and it allows him to cut through reality so that he can enter the dream world. So, for the knight's side taunt, let's have him whip this puppy out and swing it at someone. Since it is still a weapon, let's have it do a teeny tiny bit of damage, kind of like how Luigi's taunt can actually deal a little bit. Not only that, but in Hollow Knight, landing a hit with the Dream Nail will massively generate soul. Let's carry this trait over to Smash Brothers as well. If you land a hit with this thing, it's about as slow as the Falcon Punch. Then it'll restore all 3 units of soul. But I'm still not done talking about this taunt. In Hollow Knight, there's one other thing the Dream Nail can do. It lets the knight peer into the minds of its target, and learn a little bit more about it. Smash already has Palutena conversations and Snake codec calls, but let's add Dream Nail dialogue. Here's some examples I came up with real quick.
Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli. Ah, mamma mia.
The baby. You're too slow!
Alright, so while the knight is guarding, he should hold his nail up as if he were parrying attacks. As for his sidestep, he'll make use of his Shade Cloak, allowing him to dash a short distance with invulnerability. As for his beginning the battle kind of animation, I think it should be him sitting on one of his save benches, looking up to see his challenger, and then stepping off the bench, ready for battle.
Bapanada.
There's quite a few directions we can go with the knight's alternate costumes. So far, I've been upset with Smash Ultimate's alt colors. They're just uninspired for the most part, but maybe they could show some extra love and make use of some of these ideas for the knight. The Defender's Crest charm will have the knight have little flies hover around him, indicating his smell. When the knight dies, he leaves behind his shade. It'd be nice to have an inverse color scheme that represents this shade form. As the knight takes damage, his mask will crack, so it'd be neat to show this off with another costume. Since the knight is just one of thousands upon thousands of other vessels, it'd be neat to have another costume change the vessel's mask so it's reflective of another character, perhaps a younger version of the Hollow Knight or even the Lost Kin. As far as simple color changes go, I'd like to see a red and a white color scheme to reference both Hornet and the Pale King. If the knight were released as DLC, then he'd surely have a stage to go alongside him. There's not really a single moment or location in Hollow Knight that isn't memorable to me, so it's hard to pick a single location to use for the stage. So how about a morphing stage like Delfino Plaza or Castle Siege? I know this would be a lot more effort, but I think it would be worth it considering it's DLC. Anyways, the stage would cycle through various locations throughout Hollow Nest, the setting of Hollow Knight. Some of the key locations that would have to be represented would be Forgotten Crossroads, Crystal Peak, Kingdom's Edge, and the White Palace. The last thing I'd like to see added to the game alongside the knight would be an assist trophy. The other character in the game that has a moveset dynamic enough to be worthy of an assist trophy spot would be the Princess of Hollow Nest herself, Hornet. I imagine she would dash around the stage, throwing her needle and occasionally performing an AoE silk attack centered around her. Whew. I know this was a long-winded video, so I do apologize if it overstayed its welcome or was even a bit boring at times. Like I said, this is the first time I've done something like this, so I did it the best way I thought. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see any more videos like this in the future, or how you'd like to see the format change. Also, let me know what you think of my idea of how the knight could be portrayed in the Smash universe. And how likely do you think it would be for the knight to actually become playable? Like I said earlier, I don't think it's that far-fetched. Hollow Knight is doing really well on the Switch, and the sequel, Silk Song, is set to launch alongside the Switch. Anyways, until next time, I love you guys, and have a blessed day.